Hi, Richard. Lovely to meet you.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
No problem. Can you just introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
My name's Richard. I'm a senior sustainability data analyst at Optimised. I've been with the company for 1.5 years, based in Bristol. Optimised is a UK-based energy management and sustainability consultancy. We're also a certified B Corp, and we help organisations cut energy costs and accelerate their journey to net zero. The company covers everything from carbon baselining and utility management to building optimization and compliance reporting. And we've also committed to reaching net zero across our operations by 2030, which is ahead of the UK's national target. So something we're really passionate about. I personally work on the net zero team, and I am primarily responsible for sustainability data systems. That's implementing them and managing our clients' data within them as well. And as such, I work a lot with IBM and Envizi too.
All right, cool. So you just mentioned Envizi there. Could you just tell everybody kind of what that is for people who might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. So IBM Envizi is a utilities management and carbon accounting platform. I would say it's one of the biggest out there, certainly in terms of market coverage, but also in terms of sophistication. So it allows clients to capture all of their utilities, energy streams. This covers everything from scopes 1 to 3 and goes into extreme detail as well. So, unlike a lot of systems out there on the market, which will cover, say, scope 3 quite superficially, Envizi really drills down into the detail. Also, being an IBM platform, it's got a really robust back end. It's got a really good tech support team. A lot of features are coming through. It uses AI in scope 3 categories mapping, and there's some other features that are on the horizon that use AI now, so that's really exciting. And yeah, I would we've been using it in our operations within Optimized as well for over 10 years. So yeah, it's a really robust system.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Anything with an IBM stamp, I think, is approved for enterprise use, which is very reassuring. And how does Optimize use Envizi within your service offering?
So we use Envizi in two ways. Firstly, as I said, we've been a partner with Envizi for over 10 years. We were one of the first partners to work with them. And in that time, we've used Envizi within our operations to manage our clients' data directly. So in the net zero team, we have a 5 point plan for helping our clients to decarbonize and reach their net zero goals. Part of that plan, a really integral part, is data capture and data management. And Envizi does all the heavy lifting here. So it allows us to seamlessly capture our clients' data, put it into meaningful visualizations, and then we pull the data out into our pre-configured reports, our API. Um, if this is all sounding too technically jargon, it basically means that we take the data out and we can put it into our templates in a much more streamlined way. So you can cut out all of the, copying and pasting that you typically would have to do between Excel spreadsheets that a lot of consultants are probably very familiar with. So that's sort of the first part, and then the second part of our relationship with IBM and Envizi is our partnership for implementation.
Right.
And as implementation partners, we help to recruit new clients for Envizi, and then we implement the system, help the client to understand how to use Envizi, get the most out of it. So we offer, training services, configuration once it's within the client's operations, and we also pass on valuable feedback to IBM and Envizi based on our experience with our clients, our direct clients, other systems that we've had experience with as well. So there's a lot of symbiosis between us and Envizi.
Yeah, yeah. So, you mentioned that Envizi, at its core, it's all about data. Now, it's obvious to many people why data is so important. But could you just explain, why is data so critical to your success and your clients' success in sustainability projects?
Yeah, so we tend to say that it's at the foundation of everything we do. So, for example, timely and accurate information on things like carbon emissions is vital for reporting under compliance schemes. We operate a lot with SECR and ESOS, and these schemes in particular have quite stringent requirements when it comes to data validity and audit trails. So it's so crucial to have that. And Envizi offers this in its back end. For example, you can attach records directly to, um, you know, attach evidence, sorry, to a record, meaning that when you look at the specific record of an Envizi, utility bill, you can see the actual invoice that that's come from as well. So that kind of feature is really, really crucial. Um, but also, when it comes to managing our clients' data, we found that using a subpar system such as like an Excel format, lots of different Excel spreadsheets, tends to lead to pure organizational chaos. It makes it very resource intensive. It tends to amount to more cost than it's actually worth. And by this, I mean, often you will find that the business case for adopting a system such as Envizi for managing your data in a more streamlined way is far more rational than all of the cost of delayed data deliverables and then having erroneous data that goes to compliance schemes. In fact, I was at an Envizi user group forum just a week ago, and one of Envizi's clients told this story about how one of their colleagues reached out to them asking for a certain data pool, sustainability data this is, and because they were able to use Envizi, they got it back to them within a few minutes, whereas previously it would have taken weeks and the data would have been questionable, dubious, and they said it. The colleague in question was delighted with how quickly they were able to do it now.
Does it pull data on a periodic basis, or is it a continual kind of update of data points? Or how does it actually pull the data?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, actually. So there's two primary data entry types within Envizi. There's contiguous data and event data. So contiguous, you can imagine as something where there's a constant supply, such as electricity. Event data is something that happens periodically, randomly. For example, if you've got a diesel generator, you might top it up once in a blue moon if it runs efficiently and you don't use it much. So Envizi takes both. You could enter this data manually via the UI, via template upload connectors and such like, but you can also attach Envizi to via connectors to all of your data sources. So in theory, if you had enough technology at the data source, i.e. the energy source, say for example submeters for your electricity meters, then you could plug everything directly into Envizi and it would all just happen automatically in the background, completely streamlined. I think that's the ultimate dream of most sustainability data managers.
Yeah, that it just happens autonomously without any sort of trigger, if you like. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Can you share any challenges you face with managing data across multiple sites?
You can have one meter that's subdivided across different companies or different entities.
Okay.
Okay. Now, a typical case for this would be real estate. Obviously, if you own an office block, you might have an office that's then divided into three different clients. And then we have to, and Optimised offers recharging services that would break down and apportion the amount charged to each tenant. Um, this is one scenario where being able to apportion data within a system like Envizi is really useful. Um, And another example could just be a meter that's again subdivided across different entities. For
Mm.
example, in a manufacturing site, it doesn't necessarily have to be office space, but there's different metrics by which you would want to subdivide that meter. So in the office case, it's just floor space or some sort of methodology that pertains to the office's use. Whereas with manufacturing, you might find that it's more related to, say, the tonnage produced by the client. So um, yeah, you want to be able to subdivide that meter, and within Envizi, you can create um, separate reporting fields, if you will, through which you can specify which organization is responsible for which and to which percentage,
Right. Okay.
which
So it
is
can
a
be
really useful feature.
super granular. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
can you give us an overview of an actual client project without naming names, perhaps, but where that client or you as the advisor are pushing the boundaries of what's possible?
I'm actually working on an implementation project at the moment, which has really pushed the boundaries in terms of what Envizi can do. So the client in question has quite sophisticated operations.
Right.
Off the top of my head, they're operating in over 50 different countries. So with all kinds of different data types and extremely granular, they use various different specific materials in their operations. So that creates a lot of like different waste data processing streams. So yeah, in summary, a very complex client, and they wanted to have the ability within Envizi to have a predefined unit of measure for all of their account styles or accounts. So when the user goes into the UI, they will be presented with a data capture portal, and within that, there will be automatically selected the correct unit of measure corresponding to the type of data that they're putting in. So if it's electricity, it would be kilowatt hours, for example. But then if it's waste, it could be in tons, metric tons. But if they're operating in the US, it could be imperial, right? You'd want an imperial ton, for example. So this is a very reasonable request because a common pain point with clients is that their end users will erroneously select the wrong unit of input, especially when you're operating at a huge scale and you have to roll out Envizi to tens or a large group of users that won't necessarily have the same level of experience as somebody who works with it day to day. This could be somebody who's using the system once a week, maybe even less, just to input some data here and there. So they might not necessarily have that experience necessary to intuitively know to select the right unit of measure.
Yeah.
So what we did was we used some back-end rules and some what they call expressions within the custom account style configuration, and this is a feature of Envizi called the account style wizard, to run the unit conversions in the back end so that when the user selects a certain unit of measure, it will convert between all of them. And we also changed the hierarchy of the units of measure so that the correct one, according to the geography, would appear for the user. Um, so exactly.
The only field. Right. Okay.
Exactly, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
So it would
super
be
smart. Yeah.
pre-selected. Yeah, yeah, and this was something that is entirely possible within the system, but we had to work with IBM to understand how best to do this, what the best sort of practice would be. It was quite a sophisticated operation, but in the end, it's worked out really nicely.
Yeah, that's amazing because obviously if you're collecting data, you need to be able to compare apples with apples. You can't
Yeah.
have different units and then change them. I mean, does the system change them in the back end so that the overall calculation is based on one unit?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it converts between, in some cases, 7 different units of measure, which can include volume and weight. So it will go from something, say, for example, if you've got metric cubic meters and you wanted to convert that into, weight, so kilograms, it can certainly do that. And this is actually quite applicable in cases such as waste streams, because sometimes you will want to measure waste in volume because it's in a skip, for example, which is measured by volume. So there's a lot of necessary flexibility here within the system.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's so smart. Um, and once the data's been collected, how do you, or how does your firm, how does Envizi transform that into insights that are meaningful for clients?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways we can do this. Firstly, Envizi has pre-formatted Power reports which can visualize the data in really interesting ways. They're based in Power BI, so if you're savvy with Power BI, then you'll know how to work them quite well, and you can splice and manipulate the data in different ways to show it in different formats. We, as a consultancy, because we want to be able to produce reports with our branding and our sort of formats and templates, we've queried Envizi's API to pull the data out and then format it into our templates, and then from that created our own visuals as well. So there's kind of a flexibility here in that you can use however much you want of Envizi in order to produce those outputs, but then if you wanted, you could also just, pull the data out and do it yourself. API is the fastest way, but Envizi is very good at producing reports that are very Excel friendly, so that you can just
Right.
pull the data in and however
And
you
then,
want it.
yeah, turn it into graphs and charts, whatever you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. In the context of our implementations as well, um, I would say that clients have been really impressed with the Power Reports functions, specifically around compliance schemes. So, for example, like there's a CDP reporting manager where you can just see all of your questions and send them out to different delegates and manage them all in one place. So it's yeah, that's really handy.
Yeah, that sounds great. So it sounds pretty flexible, pretty adaptable. Are there any sort of core features, other core features that stand out to you as showing how flexible and adaptable Envizi is?
So I would say, from my experience of having worked with other sustainability data management systems, um, I think the ability to tag data and assign different portfolio groups and classification groups, don't worry, I will define those in a second, has been really useful. So effectively, this means that you can splice, view, and sort the data into different categorizations. A classification group would be something like a corporate structure, business hierarchy, um, so your HQ at the top, and then your reporting, your operating units below, and so on. A portfolio group would be something more along the lines of like a qualitative, label that you would apply to that branch of operations. So it could be like sales, it could be manufacturing, something like that. So you can classify using as many groups as you want. And they have different hierarchies. And then on top of that, like I mentioned, you can add these tags as well. So, if you want to label the data in a certain way or label a location or an account, so that it comes up in your reporting outputs under a specific tag, then yeah, it's got that flexibility as well. And this is really useful for just visualizing different instances of data and really drilling down into comparable insights, which are meaningful to our clients, meaningful to us as well in terms of understanding decarbonization.
Yeah, so I know you talked earlier about how you support clients with reporting, custom reporting. Um, how else do you think Optimize supports clients more effectively than, let's say, them just taking the software and doing it themselves?
I think first and foremost, because we've had that direct experience of working within Envizi as consultants and using it within our operations to manage our clients' data, we have really benefited from getting that hands-on experience and understanding how best to implement it within our operations, which means that we can transfer that knowledge to our clients as well. So that would be things like understanding best practices when doing the configuration, helping with change management and training, helping our clients to understand various aspects of Envizi, the back-end configuration. I think we also encourage clients to take on as much as possible. We have quite an ambitious approach when it comes to our clients' understanding of Envizi, just because we want them to get to a similar position to us in that they can understand all of the mechanics and the nuts and bolts of how Envizi works. Um, and that's a win-win, because that means that they can then consult us as their implementation partners, and just to add in that we would be a virtual admin for them for a period of time, say 3 years, so they can carry on consulting us. But we want them to be able to consult us on more specific aspects of Envizi, which we'll find more challenging, and they'll find more useful than, say, the bare bones basics. So we try to get partners as involved as possible on all of the implementation aspects. So we feel that in terms of our implementation, we're able to offer that much more in-depth approach to implementing it. And then on top of that, we offer end-to-end, decarbonization, net zero services. So we can help with additional aspects such as, metering and procurement. We can help our clients to better manage their data by, for example, installing the sub-meters that we spoke about previously, which will then enrich the data that's going into Envizi for our clients. We can also offer our decarbonisation strategy services on the end of Envizi. So that means we can take Envizi's outputs, help our clients to make sense of them and to convert those into a robust strategy. So yeah, there's a lot of
A lot of extra value add
symbioses.
there. Yeah, no, I hear
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Is there a specific type of client that Optimised works with, or a sector that you traditionally partner with?
Yeah, so in the context of our implementation partnership, we've mostly been working with manufacturing clients, but this isn't exclusive. We could work with any type of client. I think actually quite an interesting client to work with would be another consultancy for the IBM and Visi partnership, just because we've got quite applicable experience in this realm. More broadly, Optimized works in multiple sectors, primarily commercial real estate, um, retail, renewables, generation, and hospitality. Um, so yeah, that's our operations.
We can't really have any sort of conversation these days without talking about AI, which, is not a bad thing. I'm here for it. I love AI. But how do you think AI is going to shape the future of reporting and analytics, particularly in sustainability data?
It's interesting that there was actually in the IBM and Visi user forum that I attended last week, they unveiled a new feature which uses a large language model, an LLM, to pass a client's sustainability documentation. So this could be like ESG
Mm,
strategies and policies and such like, which are stored within a central database within Envizi. Passes that documentation, and then from that, it's able to generate a textual response to certain questions that would be required by compliance schemes, such as the CSRD. Um, so this is really useful because it's essentially doing what I think a lot of sustainability reporting managers are probably doing manually today, which is to take their documentation, have AI pass it, and then generate a response from that. Um, but they would be doing that manually, so loading it into the likes of Copilot or ChatGPT or whichever LLMs they're using, and then having it generate text out of that. So now you can have all of that centralized in one place alongside your data management as well, which is extremely beneficial. And in terms of the outlook of this and AI, I do genuinely believe that in the future, AI will be doing most, if not all, of the heavy lifting when it comes to things like data analysis and generating those textual responses to compliance schemes or for whatever other use cases there are, which then liberates consultants with expertise or other specialists within this field to focus more on generating meaning out of that information. So the outputs, the sort of strategy side of things, and
yeah.
where you go with that information. So I see it as a really big positive and something really exciting for IBM and Visi as well.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. So, is there anything that you would want anyone listening to this to? How would they take action if they're really interested in talking to you or working with Envizi and you? What would the next steps be?
Yeah, I think having a a thorough review of your internal sustainability data management practices and really considering what the cost benefit balance is in terms of your current setup versus a more streamlined approach that, as we've discussed during this podcast, could include things like completely automated data flows from the source of the utility straight through to into Envizi, plus all of the reporting outputs that it can generate for compliance schemes, but also just in terms of day-to-day management and strategy. I think often clients, when they work with us and IBM Envizi are coming from a place where they have been really burdened with huge amounts of manual data management, be it in Excel or with an incumbent system which wasn't meeting the mark, and they tend to really regret that they were ever going through those processes. They tend to say, well, why didn't we do this sooner? This is so much more fluid, so much more easier. And obviously there is a cost associated with it, both in terms of the resourcing, in terms of the financial cost, but it does tend to really pay off quite quickly, just in terms of how rapidly you can generate those insights and manage that data in a far more streamlined way.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet the short term pain of onboarding a new system and getting to grips with that is far outweighs the alternative, which is manual data collection and reporting. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
All I would say is ditch the Excel, guys. It's time. This is the future.
Yeah, agreed. Excel has its place, but it's not here.
It definitely has its place. Yeah. We won't ditch it altogether, but it's just not built for complex sustainability data management. We need to move beyond this. So yeah, and reach out if you're interested in our services or IBM Envizi implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Fiona.